All right, welcome to Sales Development Secrets. I'm Steve. I'm really excited. I haven't had this much fun with a guest ever. I think we could probably talk about all sorts of other stuff, uh, sales development and sales and tech and AI. Sure, but we've had fun as we've gotten to know each other, talking just about everything else. It's Mr. Tim Boyle from Reva Global. Thank you for joining us. Great to have you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me on. I've already had an absolute blast on this podcast so far, so I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't you, do a better, introduce yourself and,
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. So my name's Tim Boyle. I'm originally from Hingham, Massachusetts, which is 15 minutes south of Boston. Grew up in an Irish Catholic family, one of 13. So I am the 11th of 13, so thank God my parents decided to have that many.
Right, right.
Um, I grew up playing hockey. My older brother was a longtime NHLer, so I followed in the same footpath. So that was my start in my professional career. I played professional hockey. And then from there, I transitioned into the software space for reimbursement in healthcare. And from the reimbursement space, I came over to the virtual staffing spot. So I'm the director of sales here at Reva Global Medical, and we just provide virtual staffing to any hospital, specialty practice, any type of primary care, anything like that.
That's a big transition, unless we're thinking about like, because you're used to so many medical bills from, sports to, hey, I know what I'm doing. I might as well like work in the space. But what was that transition like, essentially
It
from
was
one career to another?
It was honestly, it was a little bit unfortunate to start, but it was a blessing in disguise. So I was playing out in Boise, Idaho, and I got hit. And when I got hit, I herniated L3 to L5, cracked my S1 in half. So yeah, that wasn't good. I was bedlocked for about 3 or 4 days where I couldn't move at all. And then from there, it was pretty extensive rehab process. And when the next season came around, I realized it probably wasn't for me to play hockey anymore, and I had to make a transition. And at that time, there was a recovery footwear company that was that was out in the Boston area. It was called UFOs. It emulates rolling your feet off the top of tennis balls, so as you can tell, that's going to be great for your back. So after wearing them for a while, I got in with them, and then from there went to the reimbursement space. So it wasn't healthcare with the sandals, but it was something that was helping me feel better. And once I was helping me feel better and I was selling to people and saw how well it worked, I figured that the servant route was going to be the best way for me. And I got into healthcare and then finding ways to make practices more effective so the patient experience is great was where I got into the reimbursement space and then transferred over to the staffing industry.
Great. It's quite the way to make the transition there. Way to roll with it. Um,
Take the
yeah.
punches as you go, you know?
Yeah,
Hockey
right, right. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we talked about, we were talking a little bit about AI when we prepped for this, and we talked kind of about like the 10x with the same headcount kind of thesis that you've got there. Walk through that a little bit. Let's.
Yeah. So for us, there's certain ways that you can enhance your practice, right? And of course, with AI being inevitable, everybody's got to put it somewhere along their workflow in their CRM. So we use that in our workflows as well. But another way that we're able to make these practices way more efficient without adding additional headcount is by this virtual staffing idea. And what this virtual staffing idea is, so we outsource from the Philippines medically trained virtual professionals who are going to be able to handle all of the clerical tasks in any practice. So if you look
Mhm.
at a practice, there's all the clinical work where a doctor goes to 8 to 10 years of school just to be able to have this patient care, do this patient work. But then you have that clerical work, all of that insurance discoveries, all of that patient information, the scheduling, where you'd like to delegate as many of those tasks as much as possible, but hiring someone in-house, and I don't know what minimum wage is out in Utah, but it's expensive here in the New York
Sure.
area. So it's just being able to add that additional in-house, it's virtual staff, but at a fraction of the price that you'd have to hire in-house. And they're going to be able to do all of the tasks that a medical assistant would be able to do as well. So we found practices are able to bring in a lot more revenue without adding headcount by just implementing one of these medically trained virtual professionals to just chase down revenue and then schedule patients as well.
What we were talking a little bit about, uh, you know, augmenting, the team as well. with things like AI and really kind of scaling up, that you could try to replace a team, or you could augment and enhance the team. Give them much more bandwidth, a lot more capability.
Yeah. So for us, and if I can just run with this one here, for us,
Yeah, please.
and coming from the reimbursement space too, where I can see both sides of that, where you can either enhance your team or you can replace it. So we have AI, and coming from the reimbursement space, AI and reimbursement's going to be huge. It is going to be because if you look at an insurance discovery, so if a patient comes in, they give you their insurance, and that insurance doesn't cover whatever test that doctor gives to that patient, then that provider, whoever is in that doctor's office, has to call out to that insurance company to try to correct that patient information. That can take 40 minutes. So imagine multiple patients now that you have to go check those insurances for. That's going to take a lot of time, and doctors just don't have it. So then that ends up in missed revenue, where they just have to write those off. So what AI can do is AI can run those through an insurance discovery through software, and it can correct almost all of it, but it's going to be somewhere from 90 to 95% of insurance discoveries are going to be correct, which is awesome. That's 90 to 95%, where you were probably getting somewhere from 60 to 70 with just the human leg power. So
That's huge. That's a massive. I mean,
so to your point of replacing, right? Like you can replace and get 90%, sure, but I would like to look at it as, if you have in-house staff, great, but like even if you're getting 90 to 95%, what's that extra 5% to you? So if you have that AI and the virtual professional, right, at a fraction of the price of someone in-house, then you're going to get that 60 to 70% up to that 98 to close to 100%. Obviously, I can't tell you we're going to be able to get every single insurance, because sometimes it just doesn't work like that. But it's just under 1%, which is in healthcare, the revenue we've seen in mostly specialty practices it's insane, the amount we're able to claw back.
how you know AI. I mean, especially in the medical field, in healthcare. I mean, it's being done in research. It's being done. Like that's one of the big things they're doing. Protein folding, all that really kind of cool stuff that they're able to do. But but how do you address that, or how do you introduce that idea with these doctors, these physicians of leveraging AI maybe in a way that they hadn't thought about before? Because I'm also thinking about, hey, for the CROs, the VPs of sales,
Right.
the RevOps guys, they're not AI guys naturally. It's not what they've done. And they've got to think about that. How do you bring them into
Well, I
that?
got to address an elephant in the room for sure, and it's AI and HIPAA, right? Have you heard of HIPAA?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
HIPAA is very important to these doctors, and whenever you introduce any AI system, whatever it be, into a doctor's practice, they're going to be a little bit scared of it, right? So AI is great, it can do everything, but at the end of the day, you need someone to run the AI. So if we're looking at a CRO, a VP of sales who's trying to get AI into a doctor's practice, I would lean heavily on working alongside their team more so than replacing their team, because of that HIPAA. You can say that you can have significantly less headcount, but at the end of the day, someone needs to run the AI. The AI can do a lot of it, but
Sure.
you need to double check at the end of the day, making sure everything's correct, everything's HIPAA certified, and everything's good on the patient side, because that'll
Yeah,
be
I'm a big believer of the term I use. I heard this at a conference and I've used it ever since. Is think less Terminator, more Jarvis. Like it's got to be there in enriching
right.
us and work alongside of us. I think there are going to be those jobs. I go you think back to like the fast food order taker. Could AI
Yeah.
take that?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But a Michelin star restaurant, you know, part of it is the experience. Part of it is the human
Yeah, so
touch.
that's where, and especially for our business model, right? So even though we're not AI, we're still virtual staffing. So we outsource staffing, but we pitch that patient experience. So that Michelin star restaurant, right? You go there for like the customer experience. You go there for the atmosphere. You go there because the food's unbelievable and you just know what you're going to get. So that's what we try to preach. So when we have an onboarding process, so if a doctor does want to use a virtual professional, we have a whole interview process where we vet out all of these candidates. We find the one that we think is going to be great for the practice, and then we jump on a call and we let that doctor interview them to have the trust that they're going to have the right person in their office for that experience so they can be comfortable. And they can have that patient being like, okay, I'm going into Dr. XYZ's office and I know this is going to be a good experience. I know at the end of the day, I'm not going to get a bill. I know. So then patient retention grows. And of course, for smaller practices, even larger practices, patient retention is everything. That's how you're going to be able to expand and operate.
Yeah. Tell me, in your experience, where, I mean, because the studies tell us this is something that's really common, but everybody's saying AI is bombing all over the place. I mean, it has, but also I think there are those places where it works. We're just learning
Yeah.
what to do and where. But tell me, what have you seen? Where have you seen stuff bomb, and where have you seen it just unlock, new
Yeah. So,
capabilities and whatever?
so as with anything, right, Steve, like they say AI is bombing everywhere, but like the reason why AI, they can say that is because of how much AI is out there. So there's so many different tools being created, forms of AI. So of course, all of them aren't going to work.
Right.
So to give you a perfect example, my owner Bob and I, we went to the HIMSS conference in Las Vegas this year. We
Mm-hmm.
had a booth in there because we thought it was going to be very doctor oriented. It was a great conference. It was awesome, but it was more AI than I've ever seen before. So there must have been 200, 300, 400 AI companies that all had booths in this expo event. And looking at a lot of them doing the same exact thing, it's tough for them to succeed. And some AIs are better than others, but for let's just use one specific example for an insurance discovery AI tool,
Mm-hmm.
3% is going to be everything. So like if something gives you 3% better of a hit rate than this next tool, like that next tool is done. So yeah, there's no way anybody's going to use
Right.
it because the word on that AI tool is going to get around. So the reason why a lot of them failing are just because they're not as good as some of the other ones. And a lot of them are very expensive. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just finding that price point of what makes sense for your company and your margins, but at the same time makes sense for the doctor and the practice. Because I mean, when you have like as you know, like with anything, if you have a lot of the same thing or a lot of something that's similar, it just comes down. And then for us too, like even virtual staffing, even though we're providing a proprietary medical assistant, even though they're virtual, we have to battle on price points sometimes.
Sure.
Not all the time, but sometimes. So that's just how, unfortunately, how business goes. Some
Do you
at
see,
the end of the day.
do you see certain areas, AI areas where it's just like, hey, just don't use it here. Like this
I
is not it.
I like I don't want to call myself like I use a lot of AI and I use it in our systems a lot, but I can't like I wouldn't call myself like an expert to talk to this question on that because in healthcare, like you can use it in like I would say don't set it and forget it more than don't not use it in a certain area. Like you need to monitor this. If you're putting it somewhere, you need to monitor, making sure you're checking all of the boxes to make sure you're protecting that patient information because at the end of the day, if you violate that because you're using an AI tool and you want it to cut a corner, like that's going to
Yeah.
hurt your practice big time.
Yeah. I think, we see this, I see this a lot with people who they want to turn it on as a tool with some magic button. That's like, suddenly, guess what? This switch flipped on this AI switch. It's going to do everything. I never have to think about it again,
That's what I'm getting at.
ever.
Yeah.
And,
Don't do
and yeah, don't.
that.
Don't. I mean, you got to go in and fine tune it and adjust it and monitor it and treat it like, well, you've got your
Your baby.
offshore employees, right, that are working, and you got to treat this like another one, like
Yeah.
another employee, and manage it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you gotta like you and the point you made that actually resonated with me big time there and what we do with our team is you're always fine tuning it. Always making it better, always enhancing it because as AI grows, it gets better. And you don't, like I said before, with that small percent difference can be a change for everybody. Like, and so like if I have a hit rate of 96%, and then AI grows, and as technology gets better, that hit rate can get up to 98%. Like, you got to continuously be working that tool to make sure it's better. And then also, there are times where AI can fail and
Mhm.
can fail along your workflow, and it's not going to be failing every time, but like on a case by case basis, sometimes it fails for whatever reason, and you need to be able to fix that. Going back to the conversation about the patient information.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we would not balk at like going into CRM and saying, "Hey, let's fine tune their data here. Let's clean it up." We wouldn't turn our nose up at saying, "Hey, let's with the sales team, let's go and do some role play, some training with them." In sports, no one. Well, there's a couple professional athletes that are famous for doing this, but no one turns their nose up at practice. You
Oh,
know, like you know,
yeah.
you go to practice, you get better. Uh, at whatever level you're
Right.
at.
Hmm.
And it's interesting though that it seems like in the AI space, there's this thought, well, I should just be able to turn it on and let it go.
Right. Which is just, it's backwards. And if like the sports metaphor is perfect, right? Because if you look at any business as a sports team, right? You're trusting the process. You're going to practice every day, so then when it comes time to perform, you're going to be able to perform to the best of your ability. With an AI tool, if you keep fine tuning it, so then when you have to use it, you're going to get the best functioning AI tool that you get. If you look at a business operation, you got to keep training your team. You're like, say if I'm running a sales team as a business, like you got to keep training that team, and you got to keep fine tuning so that that sales team can perform to the best of their ability. It's a competitive nature. And with this AI, I don't want to. I'm not saying anybody is this, but like for me, it looks like if you're at the set it and forget it, you don't have that competitive nature. You're not looking to fine tune that product. You want to just set something and have it take care of something for you. Where, as we know, you're a rugby player. Nothing in this world is handed to you. You got to fight for the inches. So with business, if you want to grow in business and you want to use this AI tool, use it the right way and make
Yeah.
sure you're managing it. That's all.
Uh, I appreciate, the conversation we've had today. This has been
Yeah.
great. A lot of our listeners, some of them do work in healthcare, some of them don't work in healthcare, and they're doing other, B2B or sales motions, but kind of like let's kind of like summarize some stuff and kind of on a Monday, like this is kind of the takeaway, like what's some advice that you'd give to a VP of sales or CRO or an executive kind of in our space, kind
Yeah.
of going forward with the current environment and everything.
Just the trust factor, right? So the relationship with these doctors and these practices is everything. And I've been in the place that they're in, trying to get into these. So we're talking about getting AI as a director of sales, getting AI into doctor practices, correct, Steve?
Right. Well, or just in
In
general,
general.
yeah,
In
yeah.
general, yeah. So it's just the relationship of trust, right? And proving, I honestly would put your money where your mouth is. And if you do have a good tool, trust it. And if you're gonna, like, for me, like, we always have to have that vet out process where we give the client an opportunity to interview our medically trained virtual professional, so they know what they're gonna get by the time that professional hits the ground running, starts working for that practice. So if there's and obviously with AI, that's going to be a lot different on how you show that practice. But if there's a free trial period, if there's a batch file that you can run for a practice, if
Mhm.
you're an insurance. But at the end of the day, I would like, partnerships is everything too. Finding ways to make sure that you're doing the right thing in the right place, and just building trust everywhere. So I mean, the biggest thing is just putting your money where your mouth is when you're, and building the trust of these doctors' practices, because their patient information is very extremely vital to them. And if you're not in the hospital space, it's at the end of the day, with anywhere, like if you prove what you're going to give to
Yeah.
somebody, like if I go and try out for hockey, but the day before tryouts I go, Steve, come to the rink, I'm going to show you how I do, you're going to have an extra eye on me when it comes time for that tryout. You're going to be like, oh, I saw this kid Tim yesterday, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're an AI tool and maybe you have competitors and you give that little brief one skating session before, right? And then the next, and then when you're competing with your competitors, they're like that practice that whatever company is like, well, this AI company already showed us what they can do. Like, we're gonna go with them over this person. We have no idea what they have to offer. So it's definitely a leg up. Pricing's everything, of course, in AI, but I wouldn't hold my hat on it. Like, if you have a good tool, trust it. Don't do, as anybody knows in sales, like, obviously if it comes down to pricing, it's probably not a
Right.
great
Right.
deal anyways. So
Yeah.
yeah, but
Well,
that's pretty much all I can say to those people that are trying to get into this space with the AI.
I love it though, because in the end, business is about people solving other people's problems.
100%.
And I've heard that time and time again. It doesn't matter if we're selling into doctors, if we're selling AI, if we're selling staffing, for what it is. It's people solving people's problems, and AI would just be a tool to go ahead and do that. So, Tim, I appreciate it. If people have questions, they want to know more, they want to reach out to you. What's the best way to reach
Yeah.
out?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn. Our company is on LinkedIn, Reva Global Medical Virtual Professionals. RevaGlobalMedical.com is our website too. It's we walk you through perfectly if you want to just book a strategy session. It shows you if you're in the healthcare space. It shows you all the different types of practices we can help and what we can do in those practices. So just go take a look at that website. My phone number's on there too. So the About Me page, if you want to reach out, I can answer any and all questions. We look at ourselves here as consultants to practices as well. So even if you just have questions on how to be more efficient, I'd be happy to help.
Love it, love it. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it, and to everybody else there, thank you. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks, Steve.